the years, many fatal illnesses have been overcome, many human weaknesses rendered obsolete, and the life expectancy of humans has increased significantly. This is all good news for you, for me, and all of humanity. But technology will keep evolving, and with it, the ambitions of those scientists working on empowering us as humans. Is there a limit to these ambitions? Is it possible that with such ambition and technology we are going to be humans with superpowers? Will we still be human? And are there hidden intentions behind the movement they call transhumanism?
Has crashed into one of the towers of
I once broke my hand as a child while playing. On my way to the hospital, I imagined having it replaced with a bionic hand. I must have seen it in a movie and thought it looked cool. I went back home that day unfulfilled, with just plaster on my hand.
We know that it's not against the laws of business.
This is a well-known marketing strategy.
If you're valuing different lives in a different way, this could very well lead to a war.
Things have changed, and maybe it's time for my childhood dreams to come true. Implantable defibrillators can restore your heartbeat. Smart contact lenses can record video. How far can technology lead the evolution of the human body? How much better can we become? And is it all driven by the intention to live a better life? I've always believed in endurance and the power of will. No pain, no gain, as they say. Life has taught me that the only way to improve is through exerting effort. Is that still true? Maybe what I believed all my life is now obsolete. It is already outdated by today's scientific advances. Biotechnology aims at shattering our limits, at having improved versions of ourselves, bypassing endurance and even the power of will. Is that what transhumanism promises? We've always used technology to support our bodies. There are people who use crutches or dentures and many other forms of support. But they say that transhumanism is a complete revolution. But is it something that can make our lives better? The best way to know is to talk to someone who has gone through this process in person. In my research, I found Rob Spence. He's a filmmaker who is blind in one eye, and 9 years ago, he replaced his eye with a video camera. Hi, Rob. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me.
My pleasure.
What is transhumanism for you?
For me, transhumanism is a term that journalists and academics have come up with. I guess I'm a transhumanist, but what it means is people that add technology to their bodies.
Can you tell me why did you decide to install a camera inside your eye?
I had an accident with a shotgun when I was 9. By the time I turned 30, the doctor said you should remove your eye. But by that time, I had become a filmmaker. I just thought, why don't I call some engineers and see if I could put a camera in there.
How do you think we can use technology to make our bodies better?
I know a lot of people who've added technology to their bodies, and for many people, it's because they lost a part of their body. I think in general, The main way technology will join the body is stuff like this, like your phone. But a phone is a powerful computer, and it just keeps coming closer to the body. Elon Musk, for example, is looking at ways to add a neural lace to the brain. And he, in fact, says that using your thumbs all the time is barbaric.
Do you believe that this will be the future? We will become a hybrid between organic beings and technology?
Yeah, artificial intelligence and human beings are destined to join. There's a whole idea that you can become more than human. I'm a guy who lost his eye, and I wanted a cool eye camera. That's where I'm coming from. But before, I felt like just a guy who lost his eye. Now that I have an eye camera, I feel a bit cooler. I feel nicer. I feel better. I feel more technological. I used to read a lot of comics, and I would see these guys with glowing red eyes. I have a glowing red eye now. So I'm happy. I'm a homo excelsior.
Rob Spencer's experience in transhumanism makes sense. Something in his body stopped working, so he exchanged it with something artificial. But this is not the only drive behind transhumanism. What about improving organs that function without problems? Is this the ultimate aim of transhumanism? A better human life? Or is this just a story to cover other hidden intentions? I've easily found many voices against transhumanism, but it wasn't that easy to find one of the better informed experts. He is the author of a revealing book on the subject. His name is Antonio Dieguez, professor of philosophy at the University of Malaga. I asked him if there could be hidden interests behind transhumanism.
There are several interests behind transhumanism. Economic and power interest. It's no accident, for example, that the big tech companies in Silicon Valley are so clearly supporting the transhumanist discourse and are financing with large amount of money projects that create transhumanist inspiration. They repeat the idea that artificial intelligence will change completely our life in near future. This is a well-known marketing strategy to sell their products in artificial intelligence system, for example.
It is easy to take a position against transhumanism as one watches from a distance. But if we watch our closest and dearest people grow older, weaker, and become in pain, then our position may be different, and we would probably do anything to help them. But can transhumanism really eliminate pain? Stop aging? Can it prolong the lives of those we love? Is it possible that transhumanism has a long-term goal to eliminate death? That the human species becomes immortal? I've found that Better Humans is the world's first specifically transhumanist biomedical research organization. They focus on the effects of aging, and its president, James Clement, can tell me all about it.
Hi, James. Thank you for talking to me.
Nice to see you.
I wanted to ask you, what is transhumanism?
Transhumanism is really the idea that you can use these so-called exponential technologies like nanotechnology, biotechnology, information science, artificial intelligence, and cognitive science or neuroscience to allow humans to exceed our evolved genetics.
So, are we trying to make our lives easier, or are we trying to reach immortality?
If you want to be a supercentenarian, someone who lives to 110 and is still gardening at 107, 108 years old, still riding a bicycle, then you first have to get to 99. Maybe we get there, maybe we don't. But we know that it's not against the laws of physics. We have bowhead whales, mammals like us, that are living to 200 and longer. So we know this is possible.
So immortality is not exactly the station, but rather the direction.
Correct. Very well put. I think the first objective really is to diminish human suffering.
Okay. What about in the long run? Do you think immortality can become an objective?
I think that immortality is more of a philosophical question. I think the best terminology is maybe something like indefinite lifespan. But whether people even choose to live beyond, let's say, 1,000 years or 10,000 years, I think we don't know. We don't know at what point, people may choose not to live further.
Immortality. Death is inherent to life. How could we be both human and immortal? Birth and death are the constant truths in our existence. Now they say that in the future, we will be born in a different way, and that we will not die. By the way, this isn't just an expensive toy. This is the future. All of us, one of these days, will have similar hands. Can you imagine? Imagine we live without pain. Can you imagine if you play the guitar with a hand like this? Where your level of accuracy and speed will be? No, dude, thanks. I don't agree with this. I love my hand on my guitar. Because you're an antique, man, and you like pain. Pain is something very important in life. It teaches us many things, and then it passes. But the goal of medicine, since it was established, is to reduce pain and extend the lives of people. Isn't this the same thing as well? That we alleviate pain is something, and to live longer is something. But that we stop dying is something completely different. Whatever, dude. As you wish. Stick to pain. There's a folk proverb that says, "May God grant you eternal life." I never thought that one day this would be so literal. Is science aspiring to divine powers? In our culture and history, we learn stories which tell us that every time people tried to play God, they were demolished by God. Like Pharaoh with Moses, Atlantis, and the people of Ad, and many other tales. Do we really want this? What does it morally imply? I need to find someone of a different background. Tamim Mubayyad is the person to speak to.
أهلاً أستاذ تميم. متشكر إن حضرتك قبلت الدعوة ومش هاخد من وقت حضرتك كتير.
Amr, it's an honor to speak to you.
أنا عندي سؤال بخصوص الترانسهيومانيزم أو اللي بيسموه ما بعد الإنسانية. ما هي المشاكل الأخلاقية التي تنتج عن الترانسهيومانيزم؟
You know, it's one of the key questions for this whole debate. Issues like autonomy. Well, it begins maybe with the parents making decisions about the physical makeup of the child, maybe even the state at some stage coming in and making decisions about the genetic makeup of its citizens. There's also issues of justice. There's a scholar called Musa Ferber, and he talks about there being a nano divide, i.e. a divide in access to nanotechnologies. Another interesting concept from Jürgen Habermas. He makes a differentiation between what's grown and what's made. And I think that's key to the human condition. We're supposed to struggle with things. We're supposed to overcome challenges. We're supposed to be challenged.
طيب من وجهة نظر دينية إسلامية تحديداً، إيه هي مشاكل الترانسهيومانيزم؟
One of the concerns from an Islamic perspective is the idea that comes from Nick Bostrom. He talks about humanity being a half-baked creation. In the Quran, there's this idea that we have the potential to be so high, but we also have the potential to go low. And that's part of the divine plan, is that we have the choice. I think what transhumanists want to do is they want to take that away. I think from maybe looking at the Islamic idea of jihad al-nafs, i.e. struggling against the self, challenging the self, battling against the self. As we all know, that's a lifelong journey. And sometimes we do well and sometimes we don't, but we learn from it. Transhumanism, I guess, is looking to bypass all of that.
حضرتك في ناس بتقول إن الترانسهيومانيزم بيحط جوهر الإنسانية في خطر. هل حضرتك موافق على الكلام ده؟
Transhumanism is probably one of the fruits of the Enlightenment. And another one of the fruits of the Enlightenment that came, in the Western world is utilitarian ethics, where essentially you can value the harm and you can value the good and you make the decision of what brings about the most good for the most amount of people. But if you dig a little bit deeper, what you do then off the back of that is you can value human life. And you could, in theory, say one human life is worth more than another human life. If you're valuing different lives in a different way, it's very easy to see how somebody who's quote unquote genetically enhanced is worth more than somebody who isn't. Some thinkers say that this could very well lead to a war.
Technology is something amazing. A bionic hand would surely be more accurate, but I'd rather have my imperfect human hand. I want to feel the strings, to transmit the passion, and to have a hint of transcendence. This imperfect hand creates a unique sound with every experience and every instant of my mortal life. I want to be mortal for two reasons. The first is that without death, there is no life. The second is that immortality is for God alone.